AD soul laners that are so highly prized. Lee Sin just feels like kind of the default first pick these days. Not every team is going for it. You can also look towards Varus, Senna, some of these other high priority champs that have been left open.
And I really like to see the Rumble ban against TSM in particular, just because of how good Huni is on it and how easy it is to flex it into top out of the jungle. The first pick of the draft for TSM, though, will be that Xin Zhao. 67% win rate, man. This champion gets work done.
It's absolutely really, really strong these days. Not only does it have that powerful early game, yes, it doesn't scale as well as some champions, but it doesn't have that huge fall off that the old version of Xin used to, because the ultimate kind of gives you this bastion of safety. You can soak up so much damage and then go really just immune to range champions when that ulti is active. So quite strong. Lulu would be an interesting pick here, but I also think something along the lines of their jungle would make sense, but it is going to be the Lulu. Now, the question is just going to be, will it be soul lanes? Will it be down towards CoreJJ? And generally, when you see Lulu, you're immediately expecting some sort of a hyper carry to be paired alongside it, right? So the question is, what is that hyper carry going to be? Is it Lulu Kindred? We saw Cloud9 go for that sort of a play. Is it going to be Lulu Jinx, Lulu Cog? You know, where is that carry that you're really going to be buffing up? Because there needs to be a pairing for this champion to really pay off.
And when I see something like a Lulu that's indicative of a hyper carry, I do really like seeing Nautilus as the answer to that, because you immediately just click R on him every single fight and make it so you're guaranteed to have that threat.
Absolutely. If there's one linchpin of a composition where it's like you must have a successful game on the Kog'Maw or on the Jinx or on the whatever, then point and click CC, really, really powerful here. I'm wondering, does PoE have the read that it would be Lulu plus Kindred? It is a bit of a denial pick. It's also something that he's very comfortable on. Seems to be coming back into meta. He loves the control mages. So we'll get a huge comfort pick for him. And Varus would make sense. I mean, it could be Lulu Varus, but lethality Varus is not usually the one champion you want to kind of build up and really power up.
Not.
Anyone can benefit from the Lulu, but unless it's going to be more of the on-hit style, I wouldn't expect this to be the kind of the real go-to style of champion. Of course, you can be buffing up melee champs too. Things like the Olaf we sometimes see denied when Lulu is available, because that's also a powerful combo.
Yep. And one thing I'm noticing here a lot about the differences in the first half of the draft, some powerful flex options for TL in both Lee Sin and the Lulu. Varus, of course, pretty much just has one place that he's going to go. But over on TSM, the 3 champions they've drafted, we know where those 3 champions are going to go. So the second half of the ban phase will be easier for TL to target exactly what they want to. Whereas TSM will have to continue guessing. They're saying, all right, we're betting the Lulu is not going into the support role, ban Braum instead.
And it kind of shows you just 2 different perspectives on how to draft, right? TSM is just saying, these are powerful. We do not care what you play. We are going to build our composition, right? And TL is more taking the approach of being able to move things around, play more potentially for advantageous matchups. That can be very valuable too, but if you go that route, you then must make good on it. You must win those lanes. You must get the compositional advantages as a result of some of these flex picks.
Okay, Jace and Renekton banned away by the side of Team Liquid. One more ban to go for TSM. Yeah. Do they want to continue focusing on that support role? Do they want to remove more defensive, protective options? There's still stuff like a Tahm Kench. There's still a Thresh available to be picked. What will it be? I think
not, because Lulu could still be flex support. So if you overinvest in support bans, then you can kind of get punished. I think Diana makes a lot of sense. It's an AP jungle pairing. You can take that away. Armao, though, has been great on the Sejuani, so this is something kind of particularly for him that has really been working very, very well. Would be interesting to see if they want to go back to it immediately again here. You're expecting to leave potentially that mid lane pick for last for Jensen. The Olaf was one thing I had highlighted as a strong pairing with the Lulu. It is going to come through here. So now it could actually just be mid lane Lulu alongside the Olaf as kind of this powerful mid jungle duo. You could still see Lulu go down towards that bottom lane, but it is leading me to believe that it's more likely on Jensen. And it would be kind of a departure from the style that he normally plays. So I'm still keeping my mind open for the possibility of that flex pick.
And of course, they will have last pick in the entire draft to decide exactly where they want that to go. TSM, for their 4th pick, will lock Ezreal in as the marksman. So again, this will allow SwordArt to roam around as the Nautilus, try to make plays elsewhere. Ezreal can comfortably sit underneath the turret and farm up from that very, very long range. Final pick of the draft for TSM coming up now. Huni. We still need to see Huni's top laner.
And there's been so many bans towards top. Oh, are we going to get the new Mundo? We are,
Huni,
okay.
let's go.
Interesting. Right. So Mundo is something I've actually played a fair bit of with the new style. I do think that your early laning is a lot weaker. Generally, his best matchups are actually against people who are incredibly CC reliant. So that's not Lee Sin. So I will say I'm a little bit surprised to actually see him coming out. Traditionally, when you're looking at the best matchup for Mundo, it's things like Shen, Renekton, champions that have one piece of CC that they must really nail because his passive immunes that first CC that does hit him. Yeah. And that is why he wins a lot of those matchups. It's actually going to be Seraphine. So this is interesting. It is going to be a lot
of support.
Yeah, Lulu plus Seraphine is very low on damage. I kind of start to feel like maybe Tactical is going to be on hit. Maybe he has to go towards that, especially if you're going up against a Mundo and you basically are just stacking physical damage here, right?
Yeah.
Essentially purely physical damage. Yes, there's Lulu and Seraphine. They're not going to threaten a Mundo who's health stacking. I think you need on hit to really be able to punch through because he is a difficult champion to get through. It looks like it will be Jensen playing the Lee Sin. I do think this suits his style a little bit better, putting Jenkins on the Lulu. He's been a player who's been very, very flexible, so it's more of that priority up towards top. The one thing I will say is that very quickly, Mundo can shrug off these ranged, kind of like lower damage style of champions. Like when you're playing against a Lulu, if you just even get towards a cow, like I don't even know if he feels like he needs that, but even just like a casual null magic mantle and you start building some HP, you're probably chilling because there is MR built into a lot of the standard mythics. From there, you really just want to stack armor to deal with the Lee Sin, the Olaf, the Varus. Mundo will be really, really interesting here. You know, he kind of has more unique trading patterns. You know, the E to be able to knock minions that you actually last hit through the wave, harass people that are both inside the wave, and then harass people that are outside the wave with your Q, with your cleaver, which was the more standard pattern. Yeah. You know, the W has kind of the pseudo gray health that you can reactivate to get some of that health back. Can be pretty powerful in the later stages of the game. He's definitely a very different style of champion. I can't say I was expecting him to come out except in maybe very specific counter matchups. So really interested to see how he does perform here today.
Okay, Huni on the Mundo. Grasp of the Undying with domination secondary there for the runes. We can't wait to see what he's bringing to the table here on this one, man. The Dr. Mundo, can he go where he pleases? Or will TL have the answer? With Lulu in the top lane, Seraphine in the bottom lane, so much shielding, so much speed, so much healing, so much power. And that, to me, also says so much faith in Armao on this Olaf.
Yeah.
This guy who's coming in, Santorin's having health problems right now. Armao's your substitute, and you're putting him on the champion to hard carry the game, to be the one that these two can act as a support battery for. That's a lot of faith.
It absolutely is. I mean, I'm just so curious to see, are they going to do on-hit Varus? That's the biggest question left for me.
Okay.
Because if it's lethality Varus, and you just have this armor-stacked Mundo, it feels really tough. I mean, you can try to poke past the front line towards PowerOfEvil, who won't have sustain on this Azir, and that would become kind of your primary target. But it does feel tough, man. It feels really tough if you're going to just go fully poke style, because then you're fully invested really in Armao being your only kind of consistent DPS. Like, Lee Sin is not a high DPS champ. Neither is lethality Varus. So pretty interesting draft here from TL, and excited to see how it pans out.
CoreJJ and Tactical thinking that they were being clever there in that tri-brush, but since it was already warded out, Lost just gets a free Mystic shot onto CoreJJ to begin the bottom lane. Tier start for the Ezreal. I pointed out because he is one of those champions that sometimes starts a Doran's Blade, sometimes starts a tier, depending on what's going on. And remember, Pro View, man, we got PowerOfEvil versus Jensen. One of the more exciting mid lane matchups to see here. PowerOfEvil on his trademark control mage style, Jensen here on a playmaker with Lee Sin. So remember that that is your free matchup you can check out here for this game between TSM and Team Liquid, as our junglers are starting on the same side of the map, both pathing towards bot.
Pathing down towards that bottom lane. We'll have to see where they want to really go for their first move. I do think that this Seraphine plus Varus lane is really, really susceptible when you're looking at Xin plus the Nautilus as a pairing who has that really strong engage. There's no exhaust here. They're trying to slam this lane. They're trying to bully it. Nice setup there. You get the root into the Varus Q on the Lost, and he's going to be chugging potions here early and often. CoreJJ is playing Ignite. He wants to punish. They want to threaten kills. And let's be honest, Lost has been kind of the weak link, it feels like, for TSM. He has been the one that has been the most exploitable. When you talk about teams at the top, people talk about 100 Thieves, people talk about TSM, but the question marks for TSM largely are revolving around their bottom lane. You know, is Lost going to be able to compete with the absolutely elite level marksman players in our league? And he has an opportunity here to prove himself.
Jensen's going in, but Spica's ready to answer. Jensen running towards the brush, flashes away from the second part of the W. Remember, the extended range that gives Xin now on the audacious charge would have meant he could catch him very easily. Jensen flashes to stay alive.
Nice little bit of pressure there. First plate going down here at 3:28 into the game.
Wowie, SwordArt having a nice dredge line there on a CoreJJ, but they will not be able to take this any further. If they leave the turret, Armao is there and ready to respond.
Yeah, they need their jungler down bot lane to be able to look for those plays, and this is brutal. They're going to actually get zoned off this wave. It's already a 7 CS advantage here, so if Lost can't actually return to the tower, which he can't, now that CoreJJ and Armao are both camped out behind here, you just got to give it all up.
And topside, Jenkins in some trouble, looking to run away, but Spica with the third Talon strike gets first blood.
Nicely done, TSM winning out on that top side. Spica, early action, forcing the flash mid, going top, getting the kill and the flash is very, very big because I was touching on it. Lulu is relatively low damage. You are expecting it to be the supportive style builds, the Shirelias coming through. Yep. And if it is that style, you get behind Mundo at all, you just no longer hurt Mundo.
Doesn't matter.
And it can get to this point where you want to push in the wave, he's just going to walk past the wave and attack you, right? And you don't have any real ability to actually fight back and look for these sort of plays. Jenkins, no ward down. Not sure if his earlier one was already used. And honestly, as soon as that cleaver does connect, it's pretty tough to get out. Huni with the flash Q, nicely set up. Spica goes in, finishes it off, and they do get that kill.
Nicely done from TSM, building some strength on the top side of the map to make up for the deficit in the bottom side, where Tactical and CoreJJ, you already mentioned the super early plate, also a 2-wave farm advantage this early into the game. They are clearly doing as they please there in the bottom lane.
Absolutely, they're looking really, really good. The pathing from Armao was also excellent. The fact that he goes down to the bottom side, because when Spica showed mid, you count the camps, and you realize he skipped a camp. And which one is Xin going to skip? It's going to be the Krugs on the bottom side. So that let Armao know, I can now go down here, I can counter jungle this, and you have the added benefit of actually zoning them off the wave. So that is something you really do have to appreciate when you see these little details where you're sussing out your opponent's pathing by counting the minions, by figuring these things out. And you can see it's going to be Cleaver Max here for the Mundo, so nothing too atypical. I will be interested to see if he's going to give us any little Huni flair, because I've been experimenting with some different builds. Some more aggressive options can work. I'm expecting a standard tank Mythic, but Titanic Hydra as an option in the side lane playing this new Mundo is actually really, really powerful, because your E, to get that kind of knock through the minions, you have to get the execute. So what it allows you to do is actually very quickly get all these minions low, and then you do the E through the wave, and it's pretty much an instant cleared wave. It can be pretty nice.
Okay, but down here in bottom lane, it's a teleport coming in. Tactical and CoreJJ are able to get away thanks to a cancel on the TP, but both junglers are ready to show up now as well. Tactical with the flash stays alive. Armao's having a flash over the wall himself. TSM has brought in the cavalry, but TL fights them away.
That is a really big cancel for Jenkins. Tactical was for sure dead. If that Mundo does arrive behind you when you're this low, no flash. So critical that he stopped it, and Jenkins actually gets the early Oblivion Orb. So he's trying to maintain some sort of presence in this lane. He's not willing to just go straight rush towards full support. There is the possibility, of course, of this just becoming the Chemtech Putrefier. So it could be that he's still going a support item first, but just wants the one that has a Morello's, the Morello
game. We've still got the advantage for Team Liquid there in the bottom. So
I hear sounds.
Able to avoid the punishment. Here we go. We're back. It's only 7 minutes in. It's still a slight gold lead for the side of TL, and still the only kill on the board belongs to the side of TSM. Now let's see if they can find a whole lot else here. Tactical goes for the shot with the piercing arrow, but he won't get it. Armao clearing out some vision while Spica clears out his Krugs. Remember that first Drake is still live. Both junglers here on this bottom half of the map. Spica still only level 5.
Ooh, they want this.
Armao's clearing out the control ward. They know where he is. PowerOfEvil shuffling Jensen back, but not within the range of the turret. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Tactical is not in a good spot.
I mean, they knew that Spica was down there.
Yeah.
They saw him, and they just played really disrespectfully. Like, look at this ward. There's a ward that's right. Okay, well, now we can't see it, but it's right under the Nautilus's big fat head if he moves, I swear. See, there it is. I told you. And he walked past that ward, and it's like the slowly walk at you and just die gank.
He's on his way. Be prepared. He's still on his way. He's coming. Okay, he's here. Well, darn. I guess
who could have expected this? There was no way to see it coming.
Good interrupt on the back there from CoreJJ, at least making it a little bit harder for Lost to go back and feel like he's in a good spot here in the lane. Spica is now level 6, picks up his own red buff. Armao is left to his own devices here in the bottom side river. Very easy for Olaf to solo down Drakes. And that's exactly what he'll do here. So first Drake of the game over to Team Liquid. No contest on that one. And with TSM grabbing their second kill, they have tied the gold up.
It's interesting because maybe TL has the read that, oh, they're not going to try this. They know that Armao's down here too. But Olaf, as you had highlighted before we actually went to that pause,
he's in the pit.
Olaf had, well, and also he had no flash and no ulti, right? So, maybe actually didn't get caught quite by that ward. So poor placement on the ward, perhaps. Did he not get seen going into that brush? Either way, they still knew that the Xin was around, and they're playing fairly far up with no flash. Their jungle wasn't covering them. So good punish by TSM. I think that TL could have played better around it to avoid it. But I mean, look at the pressure that they have. Despite that death, this is 3 plates down. And it's, moving towards that 4th one. We're just 9 minutes into the game. So Tactical is definitely getting paid. That one was also solo gold on it. Lost is just kind of doing his best to stay relevant, and without the Nautilus down here, I think he's worried potentially about the wraparound, so he is playing it very, very far back. Jensen is here, and he may be caught.
Oh boy, Jensen and CoreJJ roaming around, but they cannot get lost in time. He is able to make his way over to the tier 2, but yeah, that tier 1, man, it is having a really bad time down here. We are 9.5 minutes into the game, and the 4th plate falls.
That is just brutal. They're just zoning him off. This is now 2 moves. First one was from Armao, second one from Jensen, where Lost has to just give up waves. He's down 20 CS. They've lost 4 plates. And also, getting turret access is actually really big for Seraphine in this case, because CoreJJ is playing Spell Thieves. So every auto on that tower is getting you paid as well, right? You're maximizing your gold income down here in this bottom side. They're going to be in a really nice position as a result. It is, in fact, lethality, so it will not be on hit. So they have got to play really, I think, a fast-paced game. Yep. I just don't think you have a shot of winning this late against Azir and Ezreal and Mundo, who all are going to be scaling really, really well when your main source of damage is a little bit of poke and then the Olaf plus Lee Sin. So pressure on TL to snowball this game. They are doing great in the bottom side, but not really dominating as far as the top half of the map because Spica had a couple good early ganks.
Yep, Spica getting involved, making things happen. The owner of both of the kills so far here in this game. Lost still just trying to farm whatever he can, defend whatever he can, survive however he can underneath this tier 1 turret. Spica is here. Armao and CoreJJ may look to make a play. The turret losing a lot of HP. Oh, Seraphine ulti over the wall. Chains of Corruption come out, but SwordArt with the flash gets away in time.
They get the flash, they get the cleanse. Nice little look over the wall. I really like that from TL, a creative angle of attack. This tower, I mean, it's going to go down. It's just a question of how quickly is it going to go down. It won't be this wave. They're not willing to commit to it as Armao is backing off, so Tactical doesn't want to give up another death here. It's always interesting, it feels weird to give up the tower, but almost I think it may have been the smarter play in that situation. Just let it die to the minions. If you think it's already going down, so the local gold is missed out on, the plate gold is missed out on.
Because there's no way you save it for a long period of time.
It's at like 2% health, right? It's a couple autos and it's dead. So unless you think you can actually defend it for a significant amount of time, sometimes it's better to just allow your tower to die to a minion wave while no one else is around and minimize the gold that you're giving your opponents.
Well, Jensen will farm up this wave, crashing into his tier 1 turret right now. Team Liquid trying to maintain control over neutral territory here as CoreJJ sweeps out some wards, places down some of his own. Spica has found his way into the top lane. And here's one thing, one of the counterpoints to letting the turret fall. First turret bonus is now still available and will go the way of TSM. As soon as this charge comes in, there it is, first turret bonus. That's theirs.
Very nicely done. Going to be able to cash out for that Mundo. Obviously, there's some farm here for Jenkins to try to catch up. I'll be interested to see if he actually tries to freeze this. I do think he should just try to freeze that up. Tactical going to be able to get the solo gold on that turret going down. Really nice for him. CoreJJ intelligently backing away. You don't need that gold as that support Seraphine. You need to be playing from ahead with this Varus. They know there's going to be a lot of armor eventually stacked up. Mundo already has the plated steel caps, a Frostfire gauntlet, and grabbing the Kindle gem here. So it'll be interesting to see where he does go.
Yep.
You know, if you are worried about poke, you can just go Warmogs and just tank every single arrow and never care ever.
Anymore forever. Yeah, pretty much. Gore Drinkers also done for Armao and Jensen, so a lot of drain tank power on the side of Team Liquid. And when you consider those two items, along with the Lulu, along with the Seraphine, I want to see some grievous wounds. I want to see some healing reduction on the side of TSM to answer that properly.
Absolutely. And the question will be who will grab it. You know, we could see the executions for loss, but I think he really wants to rush towards his two items. He does have Divine Sunder at a pretty reasonable timing here, so has that stacking up the tier. He's definitely behind, but it's kind of just bits and pieces that he's behind by because he started on tier, so he's down Deep Blade, you know, boots, and a longsword. It's not the end of the world for now.
Right.
And he's just really trying to prioritize the item spike, so I don't expect him to actually go back for any sort of executioners just yet, and that makes me wonder, you know, is anyone going to grab it? I think that Huni could look towards even just a Bramble or something like that, or maybe even grab an Oblivion Orb here for PowerOfEvil, because I agree, you're going to want it.
And Moonstone Renewer now completed for Lulu, an item that at one point dominated the meta to the point where it became a massive meme because it was so turbo broken. Then after the nerfs, it just fell off the edge of the world.
Yeah, so my guess is that CoreJJ will go Shurelius, and they'll just say, okay, we'll have one of each, right?
Okay.
You don't need both, perhaps, is kind of the thought process here. So it was just Oblivion Orb into the completed Mythic, which I like because, again, you're going to want this item eventually anyway. Yeah. You go for that Chemtech Putrefier. You give anyone you're buffing up with those shields the ability to debuff for healing. So it's really, really effective. It's one of the most underrated support items. You're going to need it against Mundo. Xin has great healing here too. So it's going to be highly effective.
Tactical just continuing to spam these piercing arrows, force this wave as fast as possible, make sure they maintain priority. As you can see, Huni wanted to steal away the red buff, but unfortunately for him, Armao was there in time to respond, so he will have to leave instead. Nothing to really fight for on Summoner's Rift right now, as the dragon is not around, but Jensen going after PowerOfEvil here, who summons up the Sun Disc, throws out the soldiers, getting both of those cooldowns for nothing. Pretty good there for Jensen.
Really good. Yeah, good bit of pressure. You could see that PowerOfEvil, knowing their tower was down, was pretty nervous about the potential of Jensen landing a full combo there.
Yeah.
So early ult, early Sun Disc. I think you have to play it respectfully because if you actually do get hit by that full combo, you may just die and then not be able to react late.
Yep.
As it takes some time for that Sun Disc to actually activate. It takes some time to really be able to battle back there. And he's kind of put in this awkward spot because he has to play side lane with no tower against a Lee Sin, since his Ezreal is the one moving towards mid.
Okay, with the Rift Herald started up, let's see if they're willing to fight for it. TSM's already got this one taken care of, though, so they'll pick up the eye, march their way out. Spica is now even level with Armao here in the jungle. Still about 3 camps behind, but close enough that those levels aren't different just yet. As TSM, with that second Herald in their inventory, remember, the first one was imperative for them in getting that first turret bonus, taking out that tier 1 there on the top lane. We'll see where they want to use the second.
And I'm really interested if they're actually going to challenge at this next dragon, because it's been the first 2 over to TL, uncontested. TSM is actually slightly ahead as far as the gold is concerned. And Mountain Soul, I think, would be pretty valuable here. Being able to have that, always a really nice one, especially if you could actually take it away from TL. Champions like Mundo and Nautilus are going to value that Mountain Soul so much. Even just the flat armor and MR, that you're going to be stacking a tremendous amount of armor here against this TL squad, that would be really nice. And because TL is already pretty low on damage, having that buffer is going to make it even tougher for them to ever actually take someone down.
I like the little game of chicken that we're playing down here, as neither side wants to step forward a little bit too far. They don't know how many dudes might be waiting. There's a lot of dudes down here for TSM. They'll go ahead and get this wave shoved up. And considering how early they lost their own turret here in the bottom lane, there's almost no damage done to the enemy turret here instead, as Tactical and CoreJJ just had control over the lane the entire laning phase.
And I think that was really smart, honestly, for TSM. Not only did they wait for SwordArt, but they wait for Spica, because if someone is in that tri-brush and you just kind of face check early as the Nautilus, you're probably going to be in trouble. They know that PowerOfEvil is going to need support in this side lane, because your bottom lane got crushed, and then you kind of threw the Azir under the bus by having him be the one in this long lane without a tower, so he's going to need that support to get waves reset when he's pushing up there. We can see Mundo with the push. Jenkins has done a pretty good job of actually keeping up in farm, though, so it's not the end of the world. And it does look like it will be Warmog's second here with the Giant's Belt, the Kindle Gem. Should be that Crystalline Bracer. I always forget, I think that's what it's called. Straight into that Warmogs, and then you just shrug off all poke. And I think it makes sense when it's not just laning against an AP range champion here, but it's also the Varus, which is this long range poke, so you can step forward, tank it up, and make sure that you're just not at any sort of threat unless they hard commit to 100-0 you, which is just really, really hard as TL's comp.
Yeah, and you can see Huni was the richest person in the game when the gold popped up on the side of the screen, but the one right behind him was Jensen here when this Lee Sin. And with Jensen posturing aggressively in the side lanes, threatening to dive onto PowerOfEvil, forcing him to use the Sun Disc and the ulti like you already mentioned earlier, I want to see big hero plays out of Jensen once they get into fights, right? Because we're talking about lethality Varus. We're talking about how that's not going to scale later on. So that means if you're trying to play a fast game, I need to see Jensen making the kind of plays that'll facilitate those fights.
Yep, absolutely. The pressure is on TL, big time. If they can grab this third dragon, they're still working quickly towards that soul win condition, and they look like they want to fight now.
Armao's running in. Finds a little bit of damage onto Spica, but Jensen now not in a great spot. SwordArt's going in. He found the ulti on the Team Liquid mid laner. Wind becomes lightning, and Spica goes in. Seraphine ulti buys a little bit more time. True Shot Barrage won't get a lot. Huni's down very low on HP, but he's still got the ulti ready to rock.
I think he has Warmogs, otherwise he probably would have popped the ulti. So I think he's waiting to get out of combat here, and look at his health.
Look at his health. Holy cow, man, it just don't matter. Dr. Mundo is in the building. TSM can just zone them all away. The Dragon's just being soloed down. Spica doesn't need any help with that. A little bit more coming out, and they've got it. TSM stops the Dragon step.
I mean, this is great. Huni's got to be careful he doesn't go too far forward here, though.
Okay, he's got the ulti there. That time it actually came out. So he'll do a little bit of extra healing there at the back end of things. But hey, for TSM, you call that one a win. No kills on either side, but TL do not get that third Drake.
Absolutely. I mean, they have such good scaling. So many of their champions really are going to be monsters in the late game here. TL now are going to have to figure something out because they don't have the potential of a really fast soul here. So now they're going to have to try to force a fight elsewhere, try to be able to really get something out of this combo. I mean, they do have a super strong Olaf right now. You have the ability to send the Olaf in, Seraphine ult through multiple members, extending the range, trying to really send that forward into the back line. If you can pull that off, get Olaf into the back line, land some sort of Varus Q over the top, you could just eliminate the Azir and run over a fight. But the longer this game goes with this really slow pace, the better it is for TSM because these items are going to be starting to come through. We can see that the second item is being built up for PoE. Mundo already has 2. Lost just finished his second. So TSM is really coming online.
And for TL, let's see how that tempo can be increased here. Grouping up together, pushing down the mid lane. Tier 1 turret's taking a lot of damage, should take enough to kill it off. Nicely done. That will give them a 2-1 lead. Here in terms of those turrets, trying to build up that gold, trying to maintain a position of strength, because the gold is so close right now that if Team Liquid wants to end this game quickly, they're not on pace for it.
Yep. And it is the Shirelias for CoreJJ, kind of what I expected when I saw Moonstone top, so they don't want to go double Shirelias. They're just doing one of each. The Putrefier coming through, as you can see, for the Lulu, and they're looking to wrap around here.
Oh boy, here we go. SwordArt with the ulti. Huni going in now. Armao on the front line, pops the Ragnarok, but can't go forward any further. Sun Disc is summoned up, and the fight's over.
And at the end of the day, it's a trade of flashes between SwordArt and Tactical, and you'll take that every time as TSM. You know, there's no Tom Kench or anything behind Tactical, so sure, he is going to have the support of those enchanters as well. They're not exclusively for Olaf, but if you have these people piling in on top of you, you're going to be in so much trouble. And when you're looking over, you're seeing some playmaking ability here. You're seeing the Azir with Flash. You scoop in that Varus. He's not poking down anybody.
No, sir. Okay, Putrefier is completed, so that's going to be very important, allowing them to cut down on some of the healing from Mundo, from Xin, from Ezreal even with a Divine Sunderer.
And this is where Huni's going to have to really know his limits on the champion, and having a new rework, it can be tough to do. Because you can't hard commit depending purely on the healing. You've got to bounce back in and out of these fights. Give yourself enough time to heal back up.
Like a butterfly.
Exactly. Like, you go forward, you're getting relatively low, you got to back it up so the healing debuffs fall, and you actually have the ability of healing that damage back up.
Okay, Team Liquid, what is the play going to be here? Honestly, 2 kills in 22 minutes, it's a slow one.
Yes,
and
sir.
in the nature of these compositions, you have to feel like that favors TSM just a little bit too much for Liquid to be comfortable with it.
That's how I feel. I mean, Seraphine is really good late game, so is Lulu, but I'm just not sure the champions you're buffing up are going to have enough oomph in the late game to really get it done. I mean,
like Azir and Ezreal.
Yeah, and Armao is also going this kind of more defensive style of build. He has the cowl here second, which again, there's a lot of magic damage from PowerOfEvil. You can respect it. They're going in for Jensen though.
Okay, they already got him yeeted back there, but SwordArt not finding the dredge line onto the right target. Jensen looking to turn it around here with a 1v2. PowerOfEvil loses a good amount of health. Jenkins is ready to join up. SwordArt's the first to die. You don't gank Team Liquid. Team Liquid ganks you. Jensen looking for a bit more. PowerOfEvil still on the run. Nice Seraphine ulti coming in. CoreJJ sets Jensen up for another one.
This could be a TL Baron. I mean, TSM are not the ones that needed to go for this sort of play. TL had to get something done, and TSM wrapped it up with a pretty bow and gave it to him.
I said I wanted to see playmaking from Jensen, and there it is. He turns it around, he makes it happen. TSM trying to stop him here with the Baron, with Jensen going in yet again, looking to find something else. The wild growth keeping him strong, keeping him tanky. They chase Huni, lost, and Spica away. Dr. Mundo is tanky, but he's not tanky enough. And that is TL getting another win, but they are stopped from the Baron.
They stopped the Baron. That is the critical thing. It costs you the Mundo, but it buys time for Azir, for Xin Zhao to respawn here, for everyone to get back up and get out there on the map. Nashor's now completed here as well for the Azir, so I think a pretty big misstep on that top side for TSM, trying to force that play. And honestly, even within the context of going for the play, they just executed poorly on it. I mean, PowerOfEvil scooped Jensen away, but now they're finding Armao.
We aren't done yet. Ragnarok gets him away. TSM with control over the zone. Oh, TL, what are you doing? SwordArt's gonna keep it going even further. Tactical is done. Team Liquid crumbles to pieces.
Jensen's still on that top side. TSM, CTL trying to come over towards this dragon, and they catch him and they punish him there. PowerOfEvil over the wall. Armao felt safe with the Lulu behind him, with the ability to Ragnarok out of CC. He's your best guy to check these brushes, but it still was not enough. TSM just swayed the earlier Baron attempt from TL here, and now they're going to grab it for themselves. Team Liquid will try to take the Dragon as an answer and push it to Soul Point. Likely will be theirs, but now they actually spotted at pretty high health, and you can see Azir is moving down, so I think TSM actually aren't going to give it up.
They don't have their jungler here either. If Spica gets over into the pit, he can just steal that one away incredibly simply. Dragon's still at 4K. This goes to TSM.
Thanks for the leash.
That's pretty much it, man. Don't forget to put the little less than 3 in the alt chat next to it, as there it is. Dragon secured by Spica and TSM. Jensen's on the front line, looking for a chance to do something, but there's nothing you can do. Not when they all have the Baron, not when they're all feeling perfectly fine.
Absolutely. It is going to get really, really tough. Third item through for Mundo. Randuids makes so much sense here against this physical damage comp. The armor stack, really smart here. The Mythic plus the Warmogs is more than enough to deal with any magic damage ever in a side lane. The Warmogs is also canceling out so much of the poke. So here it is one more time. Armao checking forward here. He does have Lulu with him. He does have the ultimate, but PowerOfEvil straight over the wall. They don't have vision on it. Not only does Armao get caught out there, it is Jenkins going down as well. Tactical and CoreJJ were not there when it started, and the fight was already lost before Jensen would have even had a chance to TP here. So it's going to be really, really tough now for TL. Jensen does complete the GA. He's strong. I mean, he's 3-0, but it's just a 3-0 Lee Sin at this point of the game is not really the biggest deal. And, you know, you're looking down to these marksmen. It was this monumental lead for Tactical early in the game. Lost is just as strong or stronger at this point.
I feel like we've got to have just a huge Seraphine ult or a huge Lee Sin kick onto a value target. It's got to be Lost or it's got to be PowerOfEvil if Team Liquid want to win one of these fights. SwordArt's finding himself slowed down. With Ragnarok also used, the pursuit is true, and SwordArt will fall. Jensen goes on a rampage. 4 for 4 kills on Team Liquid for the mid laner.
Yeah, good kill there. They will be able to take that one down. They did lose their tier 2 mid, I believe, and we can see them pinging towards that tower, so they want to continue forward. Armao, without his cooldowns, means the kind of core piece here of that TL squad is missing. They have a lot of tower damage. They are going to back it up, though. They see Jensen TPing in behind. They're going to collapse on him.
Team Liquid's ready to go. Jensen looking to make the play. They got Spica there in the front line. Jensen taking a lot of damage. He goes in the right direction. Now with Armao pushing forward, looking to find even more here, but he's going to be bursted down. He can't stay alive. PowerOfEvil with another nice shuffle. Shut down. Credit on Jensen. Goes over to Spica, and TSM will take that fight.
And they're going to keep pushing. They have the Baron. Mundo's going to regen to full. He's got the Warmogs. Remember, as long as he doesn't get hit here, that regen is going to be kicking in any second. And there it goes, flying straight back up to full. They want to end the game here. Tactical's your only damage, and he's a poke champ. You can't possibly hold on.
PowerOfEvil teleporting right back in to make this one end quick. Huni's polymorph, but that don't matter. He's so tanky, it doesn't mean a thing. TSM, eyes on the Nexus, 28 minutes into the game. Team Liquid can't do it. TSM take the win.
Nicely played by TSM, controlling the pace of the game, minimizing loss on the bottom side. They got behind down in that bottom lane, but they did such a good job of actually protecting loss, moving him to the mid lane, guaranteeing he would get that farm, and also covering PowerOfEvil, who had to take that long lane with no tier 1. There was constantly SwordArt behind him, covering him so he couldn't actually be punished. And TSM really just slowed down the pace of the game to a point where they were outscaling. They had the better comp, they had the better late game, they played it calm, they played it cool, and when they found their moment, that big pick on Armao as well as Jenkins, that just felt like GG right there, sealed the game.
PowerOfEvil swooping in there at the right time to make sure they catch both of them. And yes, TSM had the blunder earlier in top lane where they tried to make a move on Jensen. Jensen outplays, turns it around. Things are looking great for TL, but even after that blunder, TSM responded appropriately, and you said it during the cast, during that moment itself, yeah, you have to lose Mundo here. That sucks, but that's the cost of the blunder in top lane, but they stopped the Baron, and that's what mattered.
Absolutely. I think the builds were smart as well. I think the Warmogs just made so much sense against this low, consistent damage poke-style team. We saw multiple situations where Huni is moving in there, absorbing huge amounts of damage, and then just Warmogs right back up to full. Even in one of the earlier fights by the Dragon, right after he completed it, he gets poked down to 10%, doesn't even need to use the ult, and then has it later for when it was actually a hard engage, and he needed to back up, and he needed that health to be able to survive. So, you know, TSM playing this really well. I've got to be critical of the TL draft. I absolutely hated it. I just don't think that you can rely on a poke Varus as your highest consistent damage, right? You know, they weren't proactive enough. You can, excuse me, I'm talking about TL. Did I say TSM? I kind of
threw
myself through a loop. But the TL style comp, when you're playing that style, it's just so low damage with double enchanter. You need a true carry. I don't think Poke Varus is it, and they weren't aggressive enough with what they had actually drafted to put the Olaf in a position where he could function as that either, right? Like you're playing a no-kill game where Olaf is going Spirit Visage second here. Like where is your damage? There's just nothing, right? They just couldn't push through when you got to the later stages of the game, and the game would have just gotten worse and worse and worse for them, it feels like, based on the compositions. So to me, if you were going to go Varus, you had to go on hit, and it probably would have made more sense to go like Cog or Jinx or something like that.
A traditional hyper carry, as opposed to Varus.
Exactly, even Trist, like anything like that could truly threaten the opposing team's scaling with the support that you have, because just no one could really make use of it. Like, we didn't see a single fight where someone on TL was really just fully buffed up and ran over.
No, it never got to that point. And on the other side, because we're talking about, you know, Armao on the Olaf not being able to be set up for success with those two enchanters, our player of the game here for TSM was Spica, who on the Xin Zhao was able to constantly provide threat in the right place.
Great.
Yes, he was always like about a half level behind the Olaf, but that's just the nature of those two champions' clear speed. And Spica found a lot of good moments. He protected the bottom lane properly and made sure that TSM was able to manage those weak spots and play to their strengths.
Absolutely. I mean, even just the early pathing, forces flash mid, gets a kill top, played it really well. And after the break, PowerOfEvil will be joining the State Farm analyst desk and breaking down his win. We'll catch you there.
Hell yeah.